Hey everybody, this is Dave from the Boston Sports Nerds Podcast, the B.S. Nerds Show. Please go on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play Music, and find the B.S. Nerds Podcast and give a rating, a review, and subscribe. Thank you.
Welcome to Hashtag Dave Speaks.
Hey everybody, this is the very first episode of Hashtag Dave Speaks. This is not a separate podcast by any means. This is Dave from the Boston Sports Nerds Podcast, the B.S. Nerds Show. This is just a quick hit kind of thing. If you follow the great sports podcast, the Box Seat Boys, you can find them on Podbean, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, the whole thing. The Box Seat Boys, they do a weekly podcast, and then they also have things what they call quick hits, and I kind of like that idea. And I probably won't be doing the Hashtag Dave Speaks as often as they do quick hits, but it's just a way for me to kind of reach out in the middle of the week, because we record once a week as well, and a lot of stuff takes place in 7 sports days. So, like last time we talked on our podcast, it was about the Celtics being down 0-2 and are they going to win a game, and now it's going to be 3 days until we talk about the fact that they're tied up 2-2. So as opposed to making everyone wait until we come back, this is a way for me to talk about what's happening on a more regular basis. This won't be a daily thing. It won't be a 2 times a week thing. It'll just be if there's something I feel like that we weren't able to talk about within the week without missing a bunch of great stuff, this is a good opportunity for me to get my opinion out. And I do not speak on behalf of the BS Nerds at all. This is Hashtag Dave Speaks. So this is the first episode, and I really kind of want to get into the great coaching change-up by Brad Stevens. They're down in that series 0-2. You're the number 1 seed. You lost both your home games. You've completely given away home court advantage. And they were left going into Game 3 with an opportunity of not being able to come back home and play another game in Boston this year. After 53 wins over the 82 course, or the course of an 82-game season, they played really well this year. And they were outmatched through the first 2 games of the playoffs. And it just didn't feel like it was their time to be done. I said on the show that I wouldn't be surprised if they were swept just because they felt dead. They felt like there wasn't any energy. Rajon Rondo was picking them apart, and then the next day after we finish our recording, we find out Rajon Rondo is probably out for the series. And that's a complete game changer for me. He was able to do so much stuff. You know, he doesn't score a ton of points, but he controls an offense as good and as well as any point guard in the NBA when he's engaged. And it's on national television. These playoffs matter, and he was engaged. And it was very obvious the work that he was putting on Isaiah Thomas and how difficult he was making it for the Celtics defensively. He just did a lot of stuff for them, and with him being injured and out for the next 2 games, there's a definite turnaround as far as efficiency and production from the Celtics standpoint. But I think it has also somewhat to do with Brad Stevens finally adapting and changing and being the good coach that he has been since he's entered the NBA. Brad Stevens, they call like a wonderkin. He's a young coach, and they call him kind of like a wizard. You know, he's found a way to win with a team that's not that good. And I was waiting for that to happen in the first round of these playoffs because, you know, a lot of people say the experience that they have is good. They've got 3 playoff series under their belt, Brad Stevens does. But what does that team know other than losing in the first round of the playoffs? They haven't won in a playoff series. So the experience is great for the fact that they know what it's like to lose a series, and they obviously don't want to do that ever again, you know, or do that anymore. And they want to get out of the first round. But you needed the leadership of your coach, and he made a change that I think brought all the difference besides Rajon Rondo. Anything that the Celtics could control, they did by sitting down Amir Johnson. If you listen to the Boston Sports Nerds podcast, you know how low I am on Amir Johnson. And as frustrating as he was through Game 1, being 2 for 8 from the floor, only getting 4 rebounds, 5 points, he had 3 fouls, he had a turnover, he only played 18 minutes. But he just, 18 minutes, sure. Like, if you did a per 36, he would have had 10 points, 8 boards. That's not bad. That's not bad. But he just does nothing for that team. He doesn't rebound. He doesn't get the rebounds that you really need. He kind of falls, rebounds fall into his lap a lot. He doesn't work harder than anybody. And through 2 games, I know that his minutes were cut in half in game 2, but I think that had more to do with the fact that they were getting blowed out. They didn't stand a chance in that game. So it felt like he was getting rest, like on a night where Isaiah Thomas might sit down too, for most of the game, because you're like, what's the point of running him out there? Little did I know that in game 3, they were going to go out and they were going to start Gerald Green. And then you're able to have Isaiah Thomas, leading scorer, no doubt, best offensive player. Avery Bradley, best defender, especially on the perimeter. Best on-ball defender, maybe in the game. He might be the best on-ball defender in the NBA. And he can shoot a little bit. He can give you a little something. Then you put in Gerald Green. Gerald freaking Green, who I liked as a signing, as a depth guy. I did not think he'd be starting in Game 3 of the NBA playoffs when you're down 0-2 and that you were going to rely on him. But they did. And that's why Brad Stevens is the coach of the NBA or the NBA team, the Boston Celtics, and I'm not. That's why I'm at home Monday quarterbacking, and I get to talk about it all after the fact. Brad Stevens is in a position to control things for his team. Having Rajon Rondo be injured or healthy is beyond the control of the Boston Celtics. So the one thing that Brad Stevens did do is take control of what he did have power of. And he made such an important switch. Gerald Green has had more rebounds in this series than Amir Johnson. Gerald Green has had more rebounds in Game 4 than Amir Johnson did through 4 games. Gerald Green has scored more in the first quarter of Game 4 than Amir Johnson has through 4 games of this series. Gerald Green wrapped up the season with an 18-point performance in slight mop-up work. But he kind of showed you a little something. And some Celtics fans have been calling up their local radio shows and saying, what about Gerald Green? What about Gerald Green? He could be that spark. He could be that second scorer. So now you get Thomas, your best offensive player, Bradley, your best defensive player, Gerald Green, the spark plug that normally might come off the bench and give you a good 10-15 minutes in a game. You have him starting now to help boost that offense, get that game going right off the rip, right from tip-off. Then you go Jay Crowder at the 4, who's an undersized 4, but in the NBA's small league, or the small team league, Jay Crowder's a fit. Al Horford gets to play the 5. Not great. Not where I want him. But if Al Horford's going to start center for the Boston Celtics and that means Amir Johnson's not on the floor, I'll take it 1,000 times out of 9. Give me that all day long. Amir Johnson had 5 points in Game 1, 4 points in Game 2, 2 points in Game 3, and then didn't register a minute in Game 4. Did not play. Coach's decision. That deserves a bravo and a standing ovation for Brad Stevens. Amir Johnson registered 0 minutes in Game 4. Gerald Green, who did not register a minute in Game 2, in a game in which they were blowed out, came back in Game 3 and he got the start. He played in 20 minutes, 3 for 8 from the floor, 2 for 3 from three-point range, which is 1 for 5 from inside the three-point line, but whatever. He had 8 points, had a rebound, but he gave you a boost in a game that you won by 17 points. I'll take it. I will take it. Game 4, they come right back with it again. Gerald Green's minutes are up. He's got 23 minutes. He shoots 13 shots from the floor, 9 shots from three-point range. He was 54% from the field, 44% from three-point land. How do you argue with that? Gerald Green comes back with it, 18 points and 7 rebounds in Game 4, and only 1 turnover. That's a good 23 minutes. And if you were to per 36 that, Oh, man, he would have had 10 rebounds. Thank you, Amir Johnson. Check. That would have been more than you had for the whole series. And he would have had about 27 points on a per 36. Give me 27 and 10 from our, fourth shooting guard who's playing the 3 right now. I'm banging on the table. I want more Jaylen Brown. I need more offense. We got to find a Marcus Smart. He does all the little things. But geez Louise, it was perfect. It's exactly what the Celtics needed. The Celtics needed someone that can score other than Isaiah and spread the floor for him. And now you wind up with Marcus Smart getting to get in the head of Jimmy Butler. And I love that so much. Because Jimmy Butler, to me, now looks like a man defeated. Because he is losing the mental war to Marcus Smart.
As far as the Marcus Smart situation goes, he's a great actor, acting tough. That's what he does. But I don't think he's about that. And I just don't think I'm the wrong guy to get in my face. So he need to take it somewhere else because I'm not the one for that.
Is that the first time he said something to you, or has that been going on in the series?
I think, that's the first time. Last time, too, we're not going to sit here and get in each other's faces like that. Like I said, he's not about that life, so he's calming down.
Calm it down, he says. Jimmy Butler, what the hell are you talking about? I like Jimmy Butler a lot as a player, and I so badly wanted to throw the fact that Jimmy Butler has had a monster series back into my fellow nerds' face on the Boston Sports Nerds podcast. I wanted to be able to go on and say Jimmy Butler is the difference maker, which he has been. Jimmy Butler's averaging 25 points a game in this series. He's averaging 7 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals. Jimmy Butler shooting 40% from the field. Rough 3 games for him, though, from three-point land, because he is 1 for 11. Marcus Smart and Avery Bradley are in your grill, Jimmy Butler. And if you have a problem with Marcus Smart kind of brushing your shoulder, throwing your shoulder off him in the NBA playoffs, and you think it's all about whether or not a guy is about that life or not, congratulations, Marcus Smart, you win. You win. Because Jimmy Butler is the best player on a team that just lost both their home games. Now, I'm not riding around on a high horse by any means, because the Boston Celtics lost their home games, and we now have a best-of-3 series. But you had the Celtics on the ropes, and now you don't. Now it's like you didn't do anything in Boston. And you come back to the press conference talking about Marcus Smart. Why don't you do what you can control like Brad Stevens did? Don't worry about what Marcus Smart's doing. Brad Stevens isn't worried about whether or not Rajon Rondo's healthy or not. He made a complete adjustment to the whole team's game. And Jimmy Butler, I'm not saying you're not doing your thing. 33 points, 9 assists, 5 rebounds, 14 points, 7 rebounds, 22, 8 and 8, 39 and 3. Like, geez. Jimmy Butler's balling. But his team's losing. And his team is tied when they were up 2-0 in a best-of-7 series. And all you're talking about is whether or not Marcus Smart is about that life. Marcus Smart, congratulations, you win. You were in his head. And that's all you need to be. Because if he's not talking about what him and his teammates need to do to be better, to close out games, to win at home, to be more efficient, instead he's talking about the fact that you are or are not about that life, Marcus Smart, you win. And how do we know the whole fake tough thing? Like, I'm not going to say Marcus Smart is about that life. But if Ron Artest made the same physical move on you, would you go on to the press conference afterwards and say, Marcus Smart, or, I'm sorry, Ron Artest is not about that life? Ron Artest is about that life. If Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan did that to you, They were known for being a little physical, a little handsy. Are they not about that life? What makes someone about that life? Jimmy Butler, you got a lot more things to worry about than what someone's life is like outside the basketball court, because you got a whole life to live left in 3 games, potentially, before your season is over. And also, Jimmy Butler, I think you're going to be teammates. I'm going to talk about that when we record on Wednesday. I still think Jimmy Butler is the piece that the Celtics are missing, or one of the 2 pieces that the Celtics are missing. And I like Jimmy Butler a lot, but you got to toughen up. You have to be about that life, because you can't let a guy like Marcus Smart, the backup point guard, completely take you out of your game mentally. Physically, you're still doing your thing, and props to you, big guy. Salute to Jimmy Butler for going nuts. But other than that, if that's the mentality, I have to believe that the Chicago Bulls won't win another game this series. It feels like the Celtics are now in their head. The coach is talking about how unguardable Isaiah Thomas is when he gets to travel. They're not talking about them. They're talking about the Celtics. And to me, if I'm a Bulls fan, I am thinking we're fucked. We are screwed. It was a good season. It was a pretty good series. But that series is over, Chicago. And you can thank Jimmy Butler or Marcus Smart for that. But I want to give a shout out to Brad Stevens for making the adjustment, being the good coach that I knew that he was. We just had to wait for the wizard to strike. And Gerald Green came out of his magic wand. And the Boston Celtics are now tied 2-2. Tune into the Boston Sports Nerds podcast every week. The episodes will be up Thursday nights. This is the B.S. Nerd Show. This is also hashtag Dave Speaks. Thanks for tuning in.